households or consumers buy different type of things every single day. We can buy a house to live in. We buy food. We have to pay for transportation. We have to pay the bills. We even pay for services like getting our hair cut. Consumers buy a wide range of things every single day. Consumer spending, shown by capital C, is a large and relatively stable part of total spending. The relationship between what we spend and our income is called the consumption function. Let's look at 3 very important characteristics of the consumption function that you have to know by looking at yuan. 1. Consumption is positive even if income is 0. If Yuan loses his job and has no income, he's still going to consume goods. He has to eat and he has to have clothes. He will borrow money or use some of his savings. We call this autonomous consumption and we symbolize it with this capital letter C and a little line above it. 2. Consumption is going to increase if income increases. If Yuan gets a job, he's going to start spending more. We call this induced consumption. 3. When income increases, consumption also increases, but by less than the increase in income. For example, if his income is 100 Rand, his consumption will increase by less than 100, by, for example, 90 Rand, because he saved 10 Rand. The percentage of income that we spend is called our marginal propensity to consume. Therefore, induced consumption is a percentage shown by a small c of the income we get. Therefore, let's take it all together. The total consumption, our total consumption is equal to our autonomous consumption plus our induced consumption. And this is how the consumption function looks. Let's use a graph to illustrate the consumption function. On the vertical axis, I'm going to write the total consumption spending. On the horizontal axis, I write total income. Remember the first characteristic about consumption function. If income is zero, if Yuan has no job and no income, then consumption will not be 0. Yuan will borrow money or use his savings, but he will still get money in order to consume vital goods and services. Therefore, the first point on our graph is here. This is Yuan's autonomous consumption. That is the amount that Yuan will spend if he had no income. Autonomous consumption is that part of your consumption spending that is not influenced by your income. No matter what your income, the autonomous consumption stays the same. This is Yuan's autonomous consumption. What is the second characteristic you have to know? It's if income increases, total consumption will also increase. What is the third characteristic you have to know? If income increases, total consumption will increase by less than the increase in income. So, this is Yuan's induced consumption, that part of consumption which increases when income increases. So, if I have an income of Y1, it means my autonomous consumption is this part over here, and my induced consumption is this part over here. If my income increases to Y2, then my autonomous consumption will still be the same amount over here, because autonomous consumption is not part of consumption that is influenced by my level of income. However, my induced consumption will have increased dramatically. This is now my induced consumption. Because induced consumption does depend on my level of income. As I get richer, I will consume more. So when the income level in the economy increases to Y1, consumption increases from autonomous consumption to C1. The increase in consumption is induced consumption. But see, the increase in consumption is much smaller than the increase in income, because Yuan will also save some of his money. His total consumption is now equal to autonomous consumption plus induced consumption. The relationship between the change in consumption and the change in income is called a marginal propensity to consume. In the consumption function, marginal propensity to consume is indicated by the small c. So the marginal propensity to consume is smaller than 1, for example 0,8. If my income increases with 1 unit, then consumption will increase with 0,8 or 80 cents. Induced consumption is therefore equal to C times Y. Note the following. This part is total autonomous spending. This part is total induced spending. Take note. All types of spending in this study unit and the next will be divided into 2 groups: autonomous spending and induced spending. Autonomous spending are not affected by my level of income in any way, and it determines the intercept of the expenditure line, meaning where the origin of the line will be. Induced spending is directly influenced by my income, and it determines the slope of my line.